Welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to be diving into how to actually truly find your true self and who you want to be. Let's dive in. It's kind of goes hand in hand with the last episode that we had, where I talked about the key to self-love is self-acceptance. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you can always go back and listen to that episode after this one if you want to, before if you want to. It's completely up to you. But in today's episode, I'm really going to talk to you about why you really, as a person, and as someone who has an identity and develops a personality, why you actually need to lose yourself in your lifetime so that you can come back around and find yourself, hopefully find yourself in your lifetime. Now, the reason why I say this and the reason why I am hopeful for you is because you have now become aware. If you're listening to this podcast, you're somebody who's into personal growth, you're into self-discovery, you're into personal development, and you've gotten to the point where you realize that in order to make your life better, in order to improve your life, you need to work on yourself. And one of the things that you'll find throughout your journey of self-development, I've been on mine now for 19 years, one of the things that you'll find is that it's actually really the path of self-development is really the path of self-discovery, of rediscovering who you truly are and becoming more and more of your truest self. Because when you look at the journey of life, you are in your truest form at birth. That is a perfect human. Obviously, the baby has nothing. They're, as far as like knowledge, they're knowledgeless about this world, but they're perfect. They haven't been changed. They haven't been told that they're not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough. They haven't developed thoughts because thoughts come from language, and they haven't developed any of that. So they are kind of in it, their purest form as a human. And as I mentioned in the last episode, as time goes on, we are changed from our truest self. We are changed by our parents. We are changed by society. We are changed by our peers. We are changed by ourselves comparing ourselves to other people. We're changed by seeing advertisements and thinking to ourselves, damn, I must not be good enough. So I need to change myself so that I look more like her, so that I look more like him. Oh, my body doesn't look good enough. And really, it kind of turns into this situation where we mold ourselves into somebody that we think we need to be in order to fit in and in order to be accepted. That I think a lot of us numb and struggle with self-acceptance because our truest self that's deep down below all of that conditioning that we've had, our truest self doesn't accept our conditioned self. So like our conditioned self is who we've grown ourselves into. Our true self is who we truly are from birth. And we know this person's behind the scenes. It's like that voice that's in the back of your head, that intuition. I think the truest self is actually doesn't accept our conditioned self. And so what happens a lot of times is we numb ourselves. And in all of those things in life, and there's so many of them that happen over and over and over again, thousands of times throughout, I'm sure, our childhood, adolescence, college, high school, all of that. All of them are super freaking hard. Like they're incredibly hard to go through some of those. But the important thing is they are incredible lessons if we allow them to be. The problem is that I don't think most people understand this. I don't think most people understand that all of those tough moments where we do lose ourselves, where we do get kicked out of the crowd, where we do get made fun of for being a certain way, whatever it might be. I don't think enough people understand that those are lessons. And even if you didn't extract the lesson in that moment, like sometimes somebody does break up with you, you realize you've lost yourself and you go, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to be alone for 6 months and I'm going to rediscover who I truly am. Sometimes we do that. But sometimes you go through and you might have been broken up with or had a terrible breakup six years ago. And you can now look back and say, okay, it's been 6 years. How did I lose myself? Who did I become? Do I want to be this person? Do I want to change this person? What does my truest self want to do? I think that we need to get completely lost in order to find ourselves. And what we need to do is we need to lose like every piece of who we are in order to build ourselves back up from scratch and say, hold on, let me just wipe this slate clean. Let me figure out who I am. I didn't realize this until I was in my 30s. And most people we just do what we're told. We're in school, and before school, we just do what our parents tell us to do. We get into school, and in first grade, they say, hey, you've got to get good grades so you can get into second grade. And then you got to get good grades. You got to be a good boy and girl so you can get into third grade. And then you get into middle school, and you've got to get good grades in middle school so you can get to high school. And you definitely got to get good grades in high school so you can get into a college, right? You can get into a good college. And then you've got to do really well in college so that you can get a good job. And then once you get a good job, then you can climb the corporate ladder. So you got to do really good. And we kind of just follow this path. We kind of do what we're told or do what we feel we're supposed to be doing based off of what all of society is reflecting back to us. And at some point in time, we wake up and we're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This is where a midlife crisis comes from, is people wake up and say, what am I doing? How did I get here? I don't want this. So the first thing you need to become aware of is like, have I lost myself in some ways? And if you have, okay, great. We can work through that. We can it's a process. We can do it. And you start to ask yourself, like, how have I lost myself? Have I changed myself for other people? And then in reality, who do I truly want to be? And start thinking about, like, if I were to be able to be at my funeral and I were to see what's being said about me at the eulogy, what would I want people to say about me? What would I want people to say about not about what my job title was or how much money I made or how much I did, had cars or clothes or whatever it might be, houses in certain locations. You don't want that. That's not what you want people to say about you at your funeral. None of that matters. What are the characteristics? What are the habits? What are the traits? How did you make people feel? And start to develop this version of yourself of like, hey, this is who I feel like I truly am. Like these are my values. These are my characteristics, my traits that I say, this is who I know. It feels true inside of my body that I truly am. And then what you do is you wake up and you look at that list and you become more of that every single day. And if you do that every single day and you become a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, eventually you'll fast forward in 5 or 10 years from today and you'll actually be the person that you want to be and be the person that you truly are, not the person that you've been conditioned to be. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys sharing it. And ultimately, all I really want to do is impact more people's lives. And so if you guys would share it, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. It will allow us to be able to be found by more people and impact more people in the world, because I think that the world needs this. And so if you do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.